It is 50 years since British submarines began to carry nuclear missiles. Today there'll be a service at Westminster Abbey to commemorate the anniversary. Some say, quite right too, the weapons have helped keep the peace. Others say the service should be cancelled because it celebrates nuclear weapons. Well, both sides in the studio with me, Lord Robertson, former Labour Defence Secretary and of course Secretary General of NATO, and Kate Hudson, General Secretary of the Campaign for Nuclear Disarmament. Celebrating nuclear weapons, Lord Robertson?
It's not a celebration, it's marking the service of those who have served for 50 years, day and night, 365 days a year, in the dedicated, highly skilled people in submarines that are invisible, invulnerable and undetectable, defending our country in the last resort.
And Kate Hudson, they have? Well, we will never know this, of course.
Well, no,
but it is conceivable they will have kept the peace. There has not been a nuclear war.
Look, these are weapons of mass destruction. They have the capacity to kill hundreds of thousands, if not millions of people. Unfortunately, Lord Robertson's slightly wrong because we were sent in error an invitation to the event, and it did describe it as a national service of thanksgiving to mark 50 years of custody. We consider this to be completely inappropriate, but it's not just us.
But why shouldn't we thank those men who've done...
Thanking service personnel or any public servants for their work and commitment is absolutely appropriate, but to give thanks for 50 years of weapons of mass destruction going round under the sea 24/7, that is inappropriate, and that view is shared by 200 clerics who say that it's contrary to the teachings of the Church of England. Last year, the Synod voted to work tirelessly to get rid of nuclear
weapons. Even if they have helped keep the peace?
Well, that's a moot point, isn't it? Because since
you could never prove it, of course.
Exactly. Since they were used in 1945, there have been over 200 wars in which tens of millions of people have been killed. Did our nuclear weapons stop Argentina invading the Falklands? No. Did the US arsenal stop the US being defeated by tiny Vietnam? No.
History is littered with wars every single decade in history.
Absolutely. So this is hardly a peacekeeper. You know, sometimes people say to me, politicians, we have them in order not to use them. That begs the question, why not just not have them and then you don't have to use them?
Well, if everybody got rid of them, then we wouldn't have them at all.
Exactly.
But we live in a world where nuclear weapons have been invented and can't be disinvented. So the fact of life is that they are there. They're not there to be used. They are there in the absolute last resort. And that is what the people, the dedicated, committed, motivated people are doing on these submarines around the clock.
Have we tried hard enough to disinvent them?
Well, we can't disinvent them. The science is there.
No, literally that is right, of course. But have we tried hard enough to get rid of the world's nuclear weapons?
Yes, we have. As Defence Secretary myself in 1978 in the Defence Review, we reduced very substantially the number of warheads, the number of missiles that we have. We're down the only nuclear power in the world with only one system actually in existence. So we did a huge amount. It didn't lead to any reciprocation by Russia, by China, by India, by Pakistan. The reality is that these weapons are there. Hopefully they will never be used, and we should always work to make sure that we get to a world where they're all abolished with verification completely and totally. But that's a different world to the one we have just now. And since we can't even predict what's going to happen in this country this week, how on earth could we predict over the next 50 years what sort of world and what sort of threats we'll face?
But the problem with nuclear weapons, and it's so obvious it hardly needs stating, we've only got to use them once, and that's it.
Yes,
Finished.
but we don't use them at all. That's the main thing. Any adversary knows that if they use nuclear weapons, then they would pay a huge price. It means also that no adversary, no opponents can think that they can win a conventional war. And that's why, in the process, no nuclear state has been involved in a war over these past 65 years.
And that, Kate Hudson, is a very significant fact, isn't it?
Well, I think we need to really look at the global situation. We've got 9 countries that have nuclear weapons that say they need them for their security.
None of whom has ever gone to war with each other.
That they keep the peace. We've also got a situation where many forms of weaponry, serious weaponry, have been outlawed. So I agree you can't uninvent the technology, but you can actually ban and prohibit forms of weaponry. So we have the Chemical and Biological Weapons Conventions, we have the Cluster Munitions Treaty, and so on. We have laws which can prevent those things. Now, for 50 years, alongside us having CASD, for 50 years, Britain has also been signed up to the Nuclear Non-Proliferation Treaty. Every successive government has been committed to getting rid of its nuclear weapons on paper. We need to have a much greater drive towards that, because I agree with Lord Robertson, the world is very unstable. We can't predict what's going to happen, but it's too dangerous to have nuclear weapons. We have to work collectively towards their elimination.
On that note of agreement, I think we'll have to end it, I'm afraid. Thank you.